Recently, on a ukulele player's page online, somebody posted the question or the statement saying, I'm pretty much okay with chords now, I know most of the chords, I want to move on to playing melodies. And we're asking for advice about it. And other people commented saying that they'd never really bothered learning chords because they were never interested in strumming and singing. They wanted to play music that could be recognised without having to sing. They said, I can't sing, I just want to play melodies. And I thought, that's interesting because chords and melody are hugely intertwined. I can't imagine learning one without the other. So in this video, what I'm going to try and show you is how playing chords will help your melody playing, and playing melody can help your chord playing, and how learning one without the other is really not going to help you be able to play either. Now, of course, you can learn to play melodies without any clue about what the notes and chords are. You can get a piece of tablature and you can simply follow the tablature. I would argue that there's not really a great deal of musicality in doing that. There's not really a great deal of understanding of what you're playing. And because of that, you might find that every time you learn a new piece, it's just as hard as the last time because you're simply memorizing numbers on strings. Tablature can be a problem like that. I did a video very recently on the problems with tablature. I'll put a little link up there if you're interested in watching that one. But what I want to think about in this video more is how, when we play melody, if we know the chords, how it can hugely help us. Now, when I provide tablature to go with lessons, to go with my Patreon lessons, or with my private students, I always put the chords above the tablature. And the first thing we always do is we play the chords. We don't read the tablature at all. We might be playing different things to written in the tablature. We're ignoring the tablature. We're just strumming through the chords. Why do I do that? Two reasons. One, if you can play through the chords, it will give you an idea of how this music sounds. It will give you this sort of foundation of what the harmony is going to be like, and that will help you find your way rather than blindly picking in the dark, hoping you're doing the right thing. But also, it will do something else. A lot of the piece will involve putting your fingers in the same places that you were putting them in when you were just strumming the chords. I'll put some tablature on the screen above, and it's the opening part of the melody, the first bit of the melody of Dirty Old Town, a classic old folk song. It goes like this. Sound familiar? Yeah, that's the melody. And if you followed that tablature, you would be playing that melody. Now, if I was teaching this to someone, the first thing I would teach them would be this. The chords are G, C. The melody I just played, if I were playing it with someone else, would have that rhythm part, that chord part behind it. In fact, if I sing the melody I just played and play those chords, you'll hear how it fits together. Here's my starting note. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da da da. That's the C chord. So why would knowing those chords help me have played the tablature in the first place? Well, I don't know if you noticed, but I deliberately tried to play it one note at a time as if I was reading it, just by holding that note, then moving another finger to the next note, and then another finger to the next note, like that. Like you might do if you're reading tablature. Here's the thing, and I'm going to close in on my left hand to show you this. If you watch my left hand, I'm holding down a G chord. I'm aware that at this part of the tune, the chord is G, even though I'm not going to be strumming that G chord. Watch what happens if I hold that G chord down and then try and play the tab. That's the first part of the bit I played you just now. I moved one finger once. I lifted up my second finger to allow me to play the open first string, and then I put it back again. So watch again. No fingers have moved so far. One finger moved there. That's it. Here's the thing about melodies. They're often made up of notes that belong in the chord. Those are very strong notes. We will add other notes, but the notes that are the big key notes of a melody are almost always notes that we use to build the chord. So in that one, da 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 da, the opening 3-note line, all of those notes are in that chord. There's one note by the, that the, I met my love, by the is a note that doesn't fit, but the rest of them, gas works, craft, I say doesn't fit, it fits with a G chord, but it's just not part of those 3 notes I'm holding down. And the isn't even a very important word, is it? There are lots more important words in the lyrics than the. The notes that are very important tend to fall on chord tones, notes that belong in the chord. The other thing to notice about that is, what was easier to play? This, reading the tablature, looking back here, not really thinking about which finger I'm using because I'm not looking ahead, or this. Because I know that there's a G happening there, and I can look at the tablature and I can see there's lots of 2s and 3s and 2s, I can just hold that chord shape down. Here's another advantage of that. There's a big space when you're playing that. All of this empty space. Before, what would I do in that space if I was playing on my own? I'd want to play the chord. I'm holding it. So what comes next? Oh, I've just put my little finger down on the 5th fret of the 1st string. Well, guess what? That note is the note of D. And I already have a D, but an octave lower, under my index finger. Which means that note is also a note that belongs in a G chord. But at this point, the chord is going to change to C. Now, I can't play the C down here because the melody is going to go right up here. But I can play a C chord up there just by holding that string down there and strumming all of those strings. Or maybe I could hold down the same shape as the G chord but slide it up to the 7th fret, and that's also a C chord. So knowing the chords and a few positions means I could do this. I haven't even changed chord shape. I haven't taken fingers off strings at all, apart from that brief lift of my 2nd finger to allow me to play the open 1st string. So not only am I making it so much easier to play the melody part, I can also strum a little bit in the gaps to fill it out and make it into more of an arrangement without even thinking, because most of the time I'm already holding down the chord shape with that hand. I can just strum along in between the phrases of the melody. And I'm starting to think about the song musically. It's not now a sequence of numbers on lines on my tablature. It is bits of melody that belong in the chords to the song. If you already know a song that you've strummed and sung, like that one maybe, it's in a lot of Ukulele Club songbooks, then when you come to play the melody of that one, you'll already kind of know how it goes, and your fingers will already be going to those shapes. You only have to learn the extra bits where it might go up the neck a bit higher, and suddenly you can play the melody. In fact, if you're singing that song, you could even put a solo break in. You could be playing along, strumming and singing, and then suddenly there's a solo, there's an instrumental break. Or an intro or an ending or anything to make your arrangement more interesting than just strumming and singing. So if you are interested in learning to play melody, there is absolute benefit in learning your chords as well. And if you know lots of chords, you'll find that when you come to play melody, don't leave them behind. Don't say, I've done chords, now I want to play melody. Because in learning your chords, you have given yourself a fantastic head start in learning how to play melody. And if you do want to play the whole of Dirty Old Town, I have put the tablature down below in a link, which means you can get that tablature, but be aware of tablature. Don't just read it. Start looking at the chords above the tablature and look at the notes you're holding down while those chords are happening and see how often they are just the same patterns of notes that you would have been holding if you were just strumming the chords. Here's the full tablature for the whole of the tune, Dirty Old Town. You'll see it's only got 4 chords, G, C, A minor and E minor. And just notice as we move between those chords how the melody joining up the chords is using in the main notes that belong in the chord we're playing or the chord we're about to play. I'll play through it. You can follow along on screen, but don't forget you can also follow the link below and download a copy if you find it easier to read printed out on a piece of paper. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I hope this one's helped, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.